Qingling in order to deal with the Wudong elders' Tai Chi sword Chinese style. Once again, he sacrificed the stunt that had overdrawn his life. 24-hand plum blossom swordsmanship. At that time, even if the innate true Qi is mobilized, it can only be compared to the outline of the move. But now you look at his moves, it seems to have conjured up countless plum blossoms. The composition of the doppelganger is average, and dispel the Tai Chi sword in his hand. It didn't take long for it to appear. Dao military crest, plum blossoms, gorgeous like a flower. And this is also for 100 years. The first appearance of the plum blossom swordsmanship. Void panicked. He didn't understand how this world could have such swordsmanship. You have to know his Tai Chi sword theory defense. Today's martial arts have never been cracked. Look at the boy in front of you again. Use the sharpest sword to pierce the softest shield. How the hell did he do it? It's a pity that the reality is in front of him. I can't help but feel unfortunate about him. At the moment when the meeting was forced, he had no choice but to send that incomparable internal force again. Intention to dissolve. Suddenly, there was a light in the whole gap. A terrifying loud bang soon rippled out. This scene is most clearly felt during the day. Over there, something very bad must have happened. That's it. Sisei was already lying in embarrassment in the pit of the plum blossom sword marks. And his shoulders, at this time, it has already been pierced by Qingming. But at this time, I was a little happy in my heart. If you come in person, the strength of Fong Kai will be added a few more points. I am afraid that I have been left in this tomb forever. But this kid is neither a first-generation nor a second-generation disciple. He was just a child. Instead, I became the suppressed party. Come to think of it, Su San's heart inexplicably gave birth to a sense of respect. That is the reverence of the strong. It is as a true warrior. Uncontrollable feelings welled up from my heart. But at the moment, in order to grab the treasure, he didn't choose to end there. And Qingling didn't plan to continue to consume. It's just that it will. Another elder, Chu Yuan, had already arrived. It's right to think about it. After all, this is not a martial arts arena where no one else can interfere. Nor is it a place for the two to duel. But what Qingling didn't expect was void to the present. I was still thinking about the wooden box on the stone pillar. This scene made him panic too, even if his mouth is already galloping. And they have never been able to stop this group of fools. In the void, he hadn't planned to listen to what Qingling had to say, urging the Void Yuan immortal to take away the moment the wooden box arrived. Even Elder Wudong. It was also completely created by this heavenly emperor's mixed Yuan Dan. Blinded, he didn't know whether the wooden box was an elixir or a pill. But either way, for them, it's also worth the trip. The hard work and dangers along the way. Finally, there was a click of an old box. Sukin was completely dumbfounded. How could it be? Why? How could there be nothing? Could it be that there is some mystery hidden in the box? Seeing my brother so crazy. Su Yuan also had some bad premonitions in his heart. After a while, Shisan finally understood. All of them on this trip. They were all tricked by the sword grabbing without a trace. Thinking of this, he could no longer hold back the anger in his heart. We've gone through so many hardships to get here. All you can see is a bunch of rotten divine soldiers. And an empty wooden box. What exactly is the existence of the so-called architecture? It was clear that they were running out of inches at this point. But Qingming is not messy. He really thinks. This herd of cows has lived for so many years. This building starts with stepping in. He had a feeling for everything. The entire tomb was littered with deadly traps collapsing. The spirit beast medicine master worked so hard to build this place like this. You shouldn't be naive. It is a test he gives to future generations. Check it out from start to finish. Not at all. A little bit of goodwill consistent with Yao Xian Jiming. Come here. Seeing so many weathered Tibetan soldiers. Do you still think? Will this wooden box be free of any traps? I ask you to use your brains. Since there's nothing in that box. So what's left now? Speaking of these two elders, I couldn't help but glance at that was originally holding the wooden box. Look closely. Only then did I realize that he was trembling slowly. Suddenly, a chill immediately surged into the hearts of the two. Sure enough, the whole cliff. Inexplicably, a hideous fracture appeared. It stretches and continues all the way to this stone pier. It was the daytime that had just climbed up, and the Wudong disciples were just ready to start. The whole cliff trembles. It also shocked them from the bottom of their hearts. Look back. Not only did the entire cliff begin to break, what's even more shocking to everyone is, as the crack spread, he had climbed to the opposite wall. Soon, dense cracks appeared throughout the tomb, and among the masters of all walks of life. At this moment, it suddenly seemed very small, and during the day, he was even more dumbfounded. What the hell is going on? At this time, Qingming also came to them while complaining. He first relieved a few words of relief. Only then did he raise his head and try to find a way to crack it at this moment. Just watching. Instead, he suddenly said, "Uncle Sure. When the sky falls, there seems to be no road." As soon as these words came out, people who are familiar with Qingming, only then did he finally show his horror in hindsight, especially during the day. He really doesn't know why every time like this, Qingling can still be as calm as a madman. That being said, but the situation now, even if the heavenly demon is coming, I can't think of a good way to do it. Seeing this, Qingling had no choice but to comfort their uncle. People will eventually die. Let's take a look. But it's clear. It's going to make everyone want to die. Even the void can only be pinned on the disciples now. Soon, Wudong unfolded the Taiji sword formation. Look at this stance. They were going to rely on manpower to cleave the endless implementation. However, this kind of behavior is like a drop in the bucket. It's not just about escaping party detention. It's even more wasteful. But at this time, there is really no good way to clear the soul, no matter how he thought about it. Since this place is built according to the intention of the medicine immortal. If you really want everyone to die here, there is not necessarily a way to crack it. Imagine such a strangely constructed place, and such a tomb with a strange path. The entire route width is narrowed. There are even all the forks in the road at the end of the way. In his style, how could we possibly guess what he was thinking? Thinking of this clear and fierce cleverness. Although he can't be sure either. But at this moment, it seems below is the place where you are most likely to find a chance of survival. Everyone jumps down. As soon as everyone in the Huashan sect was closed, there was no hesitation. And he jumped out. The Void Scatterers saw this scene clearly. Maybe what they have in Huashan. Far more than that scary teenager. It's just in the crevices now. It can barely support people from being crushed by boulders. If you jump, seeing that there are still so many people who are hesitant. Qingming is also impatient. With one kick, he sent a few Wudong disciples down. You bunch, why still don't you understand? Listen to the advice of others to eat well. See here. Susan also gritted his teeth. Recalls the scene just now. This child has been beyond his imagination all along. I can't say that my fate is entrusted to him at this moment. Let's find a way out. Come to think of it, Susan didn't hesitate anymore. Immediately ordered all the disciples to jump down. And the disciples saw that the elder had already jumped down. Everyone is also a bite. Tight teeth jumped down. As for Qingming, seeing the rockfall becoming more and more dense, he also knew that time was running out for them. No se precis. Xiaojie, they have already investigated. The road has long since collapsed. In this time, it is impossible for the medicine fairy to allow us to choose to break through the stone wall. As for that utter lunatic, but there is a hint of meaning to the arrangement of this cave. Then the only way to survive. Thinking of this, Qingming took a closer look at his feet. Only then did he shout that everyone quickly knocked on the ground. Dig up everything that covers it. Everybody is there, without the slightest hesitation. Now they are. It's the same as playing against the Grim Reaper. Someone soon noticed something unusual. The feeling coming from the ground is obvious. It was a collision from metal, and such a find. At the same time, it is available in several places. It's in this cave. There was a wide and long metal plate hidden. Hear this. Susai also does not care about 3721. With the sword aura, he planned to split it. I have to say, this guy doesn't know if he's really old. It's still really tight. It's a life-saving thing. To destroy him. Qingming will not agree. That's it. If it weren't for the crisis, it would have been dissolved. I'm afraid I'm going to doubt my life. Soon Lu Yixue discovered the entrance to the mezzanine. Qingming shouted at this time. Don't nest there. I found a place to break. Hear this. Void scattered. His brain was blinded at this moment. After all, he immediately rushed over with sword aura. Under his sword. Soon the passage was opened. As for what is clear in it, I don't wait for them to look at it. Pick up a few people and throw them into the cave. See this. Anyone who doesn't want to be smashed into a pulp. They all rushed up. The only ones left were a few of Hong Dawang's people. They are both physically and injured. It's not light. This will rush over. I'm afraid it's already too late. I saw a few people break their hearts. Qingming also came to lose his temper. It's really a bunch of uneasy guys. Such a familiar scene. Once again, it was staged from their brothers. And Qingming's strength is just right. Throw them all down. At this point, boulders have begun to fall from the cave. It's clear that this will never go again. Even if it's Qingming, I'm afraid it's also difficult to save the medicine stone. But even so, Elder Sisson still chose to stay at the entrance of the cave. In his opinion, that way at least it won't get stones. Cut off the only way to live. But he forgot. I don't have much energy left over now. When a falling boulder reaches a mass, the villa was broken. Even if you want to escape, it's also very dangerous. Good at the last minute. Qingling has already arrived at the entrance of the cave. Holding this nosy bull's nose, he rushed down. And behind the entrance, a boulder also fell on its heels. Soon in the mezzanine. This time the spirit was not as easy as it was when it came. He didn't expect the passage to be so shallow. Until the face lands. He felt bad at that. Fortunately, this will pull Lime's clothes hard. The moment before the boulder hit the ground behind him. Precise use of Tiyun, even with the lime, blossomed the fate of being crushed. In the middle of the morning, he took out a night pearl. This was a surprise to find. The whole space is very spacious. I don't know. Medicine Fairy. In the end, it is not to leave them a way to live. The clarity of the time I saw. It was completely impossible to predict the guy's mind. In such a shallow space. In the end, it can withstand the collapse of the cave. The impact that poured down like rain. Now, they can only pray. There is no error in the calculation of the medicine immortal. Just a gradual sinking of the entire mezzanine top. So that Qingling no longer had the slightest luck. In such a closed environment. Top-down rush. Hit the person against the wall. It is very likely that he will be directly shocked to death. Now if they want to live, the only way to do this is for everyone to provide support for this space. I don't care if you use your innate true chi, or by some other means. Now, give me all of it. Don't drag it here. The shock alone can knock us all to death. Medicine Fairy, you dog. Do you think I'm going to sit still? Definitely not going to die here. Meanwhile, in the forest outside the tomb, the master of Huayin Gate is slowly coming with Shaoxing. They don't know. Why have so many Wuling Yuanshe been pouring into Nanyang recently? And now the disciples of Huashan are also gone. He was worried. Isn't there something terrible going on here? It didn't take long for them to find out that they had to do it first. At the entrance, a large number of Wulingyuan gathered. From Qingming and his entourage entering the tomb to the present. About 2 hours have passed. It's still here. Almost all of them are for the sword-grabbing treasures. There are deep obsessive words. However, The Lord of Huamin just wanted to ask what was going on here. The ground shook suddenly. A large area in front of you. It seems to be about to collapse completely. Soon in front of everyone's eyes, a huge crater about 100 meters deep appeared, and the collapse of the sword shrine. The guys who didn't make it to the treasure hunt. Ecstasy gradually revealed. After all, this is so. The people who went in before, and they will all be buried alive in this mound of earth. Not to mention what treasures you get. And the master of Huamin heard that the disciples of Huashan had entered the building. I couldn't hold back the panic in my heart anymore. At the very least, they shouldn't have lost their lives. If only I could have stopped them at the time. Nowadays and now, I had a hard time. It's hard to see the future of Huashan. Huashan Shenlong. Didn't you say that you would make Huangman famous all over the world? You said it at the beginning. It is as if he is shouldering the future of Huashan. But now it's gone. So what should I do? And Xiao Xing didn't hold back. Go and try to flip it open. I don't know how deep this mound is. Same mood. As a father. Only then did he calm down a little. After all, human beings are only mortal wounds. No matter how much we don't want to face it now. But reality says so. The eyes of the Hua Sect master were gradually covered with tears. But they thought so. The rest of the people here are completely different. It's good if they're all dead. We don't get anything anyway. Whether it's Wudong, or the guy who went in with them. All kinds of ridicule and disdain for a while. Like a demon's whisper. Impacted Xiao Xing's immature heart. But his anger, the master of Huamin, did not let it out. After all, this is the rivers and lakes. Cruel and ruthless. Rejoice in the misfortunes of others. In the same way, they will speak ill of what others have gained. Even if you vent your anger now. But there will be no one here who prays for the rest of the dead. Just young people. It has always been intolerable. They go to insult those who may have died. But in exchange for more ferocious threats from these people. Seeing this, the master of Huamin blocked in front of Xiao Xing. It means that now all the knights are coming. The people of Nanyang have long been panicked. Now that everyone has found nothing, then please leave now. It's just that the human heart is sinister. The master of the Huamin did not notice it. Now they are. It has become an outlet for these people's nest fire. In the face of their repeated insults to the deceased, the Huamin lord could no longer hold back the anger in his chest. I don't care how many enemies I am facing now. Now what you can do for them. I'm afraid only left. Don't let those people continue to insult them. This is also the biggest I have for those Huashan disciples. Solace up. However, the tension is at stake. Xiao Xing suddenly found out. An arm emerged from the mound of dirt behind him. Soon one of them crawled out. Look closely. Only then did I find out that it was a Qing Ming who was about to be suffocated. See here. The mood of the Huamin lord finally made him cry with joy. However, Qing Ming has just come out. It looked like it had been hit by something. Senior brother in charge. You have to help me. Teach that guy a good lesson. Just like that, Qing Ming just climbed out of the hole. Many people came out one after another. They survived the cave mezzanine. Even the dispersal didn't expect to see the light of day again. However, some people rejoice and some are sad. The spirits who were outside saw this. It also invariably raised the ice blade. Point to the people who have just escaped. Seeing this Qing Ling, he reacted. It just so happens that Lao Tzu is already enough to nest fire. Are those guys going to touch my brow now? Tao Immortal is also called snatching the sword without a trace. He was 200 years ago, the one who holds the first title in the world of that generation. It is also for the benefit of all sentient beings. A frightened healer. However, when he died, left to the world. But it is a cemetery full of dangers and deaths. Everyone who enters the tomb, no matter how dull it is, you can feel it from the Creator. The malice that goes deep into the marrow. Just for that legend. A hybrid pill that can skyrocket for decades. And the inexhaustible divine soldiers. Everyone knew it was dangerous, still chose to do it without hesitation. And when the Qingling finally saved their lives from the tomb, after coming out, it was ushered in. But it is an endless number of heroes in the rivers and lakes. A covetous gaze at them. Kill them. Take the treasure. These are the warriors who failed to enter the tomb. Absolutely tacit thoughts. Even if Shisan is an elder of Wudong, his explanation is no longer in the people's place. In the face of the greed curbed by the law, it also appears pale and weak. Body search. This is the suggestion of Duan Sihong, the lightning gun. But it is clear that this does not conform to the rules of the rivers and lakes. If a person who practices martial arts is searched, it means taking your own life. Completely surrender to the other party. Such a proposal. It was also Duan Sihong who decided that they wanted to escape. Now the situation has long been exhausted. However, his abacus played beautifully, but I didn't find it. This time, the clarity, it had suddenly appeared in front of him. Should it be said or not? His reaction was already swift. The backhand is a shot. It's just a Qingming now. The stomach was already full of fire. One punch down, the spear cracked. In the next second, Duan Sihong only felt a sharp pain in his crotch. Before he could fly upside down, Qingming came to him in another flash. You want a divine soldier, don't you? It's right down there. Go down and find it yourself. Just like that, the people present have not yet reacted. This guy with a fairly prominent reputation in the rivers and lakes. It was already thrown into the cemetery by Qingming. Who else wants to know where the divine soldier goes? You're welcome to tell me. So far, the atmosphere on both sides has dropped to freezing point and has been dissipated. Seeing zero COVID shows deterrence. Only then did he speak again. I can enlighten us in the name of Wudong, and didn't bring anything out. And there is no such thing as the god's soldier you think. There are indeed a few weapons in the sword shrine that can be called divine weapons. But now the sword mound has collapsed. It's hard to keep those weapons. That's all I have to say. If anyone wants a divine soldier, you can dig in that hole. At this point, people looked at each other. There are limes in. It's not so easy to get hold of them today. Only then did he slowly put down his weapon, although there is unwillingness. But he chose to leave. And lime is not pleasant, though. But the sense of loss in my heart is that of a bamboo basket fetching water. It also made him unable to catch up. Continue the idea of beating people. Guilty of stupidity. Shout out to the Lime Trail leader again. Thank you so much for saving us. If not, you will make a decision. We're in danger. Although, this will make them feel a little empty in their hearts. But fortunately, the vanity is above board. He understands too. Now, this ending is all due to our desires. Yes, there was this. It's also fate. In addition, the trail is long. Have you considered my proposal? I was also relieved to hear this. No way, no way. I'm a disciple of Huashan. And the void is also a smile. That's how it should be. Maybe the trail chief is more mature than I thought. Wudong will remember Huashan. Hopefully we will not become enemies. That's it. Wudong and dancers from all walks of life also chose to leave. See this. Hong Daguang sat on the ground with his ass. He's going to be really out of energy. It is impossible to rush back to Luoyang. Only then did he rely on Huanmin. And the master of Huamin heard that he was a hero of the beggar gang. It was too late for him to rejoice. Soon, reached a consensus with this group of guys on good wine and good meat. At this point, the matter of Nanyang has finally come to an end. At night, Qingling had a dream with a sense of age. That was another time because he was bullying his juniors. Was beaten by the senior brother in charge. I'm not. It was they who provoked me first. But that's it. I didn't escape my brother's fist. That day he took me to the back mountain. I had a lot of strange things to say. Els, in your opinion, what exactly is a sect? The eccentrics who can't fit into the worldly life. Practicing for birth. Each look for some off-the-beaten-path places. Linger all the way. This is when I came to Huashan. And these people who cannot adapt to the worldly life. Threes, twos, and twos gathered. They built palaces. Many things were founded. It was only later that the idea of choosing a name for himself came to me. And this is how the Huashan faction came. But that's not all most people know. Qingming, you know, there is a limit to the number of people who can live. Although you are very talented. Throughout Huashan, even count the heroes of Huashan in the past dynasties. Maybe no one can help you. But that's all. In this world, there are always things that you can't do alone. There are always places you can't reach alone. If my Huashan patriarch had not founded Huashan, when he finished his life, will the world still remember him? Although I know you didn't get that revenge. But that's only because you haven't had a miracle yet. Someday, you will also give birth to longing. You will look forward to your juniors and nephews. I can inherit your mantle, pass on your stuff, and that's the sect, the inheritance of the will. That's the meaning of the sect, although it is still difficult for you to understand. But if you keep doing what you want, it's not always a good thing. It's better to take more care of the juniors and disciples. Maybe in your opinion, those children are all the same. Even I am probably useless in your eyes. But you have to understand, someday, these children who don't make the climate, it will become a treasure that you will see. Hear this. At that time, I didn't forget to tease my brother. I remember he just glanced at me. Then he said, Qingming, you know this world. What's the scariest thing? It's regret. I'm not afraid that you're alienated from your children, but I'm afraid of one day. You will regret these things. Until then, your remorse will be many times deeper than that of others. In this way, the mind slowly opened its eyes from the bed. It was the first time he had done such a complete one. Dreams related to past lives, and the face of the senior brother when he was young. It's been a long time since I've seen it. But why is it here? It's time to have such a dream. Senior brother, what do you want to tell Qingming? Following, Huashan and his party are finally going to leave for Huashan. And Hong Daguang, finally scratched. He hadn't taken a shower for most of the year. Say goodbye to your friend. And he ate and drank well in this wine gate. Look like this. I guess I'm not going to be happy. Seeing this, he also put away his weak heart. The seventh-generation disciple of the beggar gang and the helmsman of Luoyang Hong Daguang. Thank you, Huashan, for this grave ceremony. Came to the aid many times. In the future, the beggars will definitely repay this kindness. And the unicorn trail is long. Whether you like it or not, after this battle, you must be famous in the rivers and lakes. And this kind of thing, it's not necessarily a good thing to be on the rivers and lakes. But I guess you'll be able to handle it. In the future, I will also send people to Huashan regularly. We're going to restore it too. The beggars who were once removed helped to rudder Huayin County. So in the future, if you need our news, just go over there and ask. So, although the information of Huashan will also be spread quickly, but this is indeed a good thing for Huashan. That's all. It can be regarded as a fruitful harvest. If only Nagato knew about it. I'm afraid I'm going to be excited to tears again. And Shaoxing will be quite reluctant to them. In the future, he will succeed the important task of the master of Huayin Sect. Naturally, it is impossible to worship Huashan. However, Qingling is also happy to go up the mountain to practice. After all, Huashan is a lay disciple and a Jinshan disciple. There is no difference. Like the senior brother Zhao Jie in the back, he will also go down the mountain to inherit the family business in the future. So what you have to do now is to help your father first. For the next period of time, you're sure to be busy. As for the entangled Huamin master, don't worry about us. Some of them are money. At this point, Qingming finally said goodbye to Huamin. Along the way, the whole South Seas looked empty. This is also a problem caused by the group of dancers a while ago. To recover, it's going to take a while. It's just that they talk. I can't forget the sword mound all the time. Lu Medical also felt strange. That medicine fairy. Why did he become a sword-grabbing, traceless Xiaojia? Attendant is very natural to think. That's just to hide your identity. But this thing, there are always issues that seem to be overlooked. He used his disguised identity to snatch swords everywhere. It's a weapon that was finally snatched up. He threw them all into the building. Let it weather. So it seems, he doesn't seem to be a coveter of these gods. So it seems, the whole thing doesn't make sense at all. He didn't want to take the sword without a trace first. All the work was in vain. Thinking of this, he was a little bold. Maybe you'll have to do it first. It's just because he doesn't like it. The medicine fairy is a doctor again. He spent his life healing and saving lives. And because he is a doctor, so it's very likely that he doesn't like people in the martial arts. It was a pointless fight all day. Even if he heals people, in the end, he may still take his life. And the building is probably a warning to us. Oddly enough, the alchemy of the medicine immortal has not been passed down, but he obviously has a lot of disciples. But there is no method of refining the mixed Yuan Dan. Pass it on to them. Everything. It's always confusing. And Qingming heard this. Instead, he fell into deep thought. Clues were constantly intertwined in his mind. Medicine immortal mixed Yuan Dan sect. The sword-grabbing, traceless alchemy disciple trial inheritance remains. In a trance, he seemed to have guessed something. Then he walked forward on his own. Seeing this, these people did not interrupt his train of thought. There is a strong intuition during the day. The monster must have discovered something again. Gradually, they came to the vicinity of the sword mound outside Nanyang City again. Think about it. What Qingming wants is always mixed Yuan Dan, and his method of refining. But he heard about it. But it is just a sword mound and a tomb without a trace of the sword. Let's say the whole thing is wrong in the first place. Although the medicine immortal did not admit that he was snatching the sword without a trace. But grabbing the sword without a trace has hinted at itself many times. The tomb left the mixed Yuan Dan. And this subtle difference, it's the sound that makes everyone go wrong at the beginning. First of all, you have to equate yourself with the sword capture without a trace. Then he wouldn't hide his identity in the first place. The mausoleum will also not be named a building. It's even more impossible to spread the word. So if he really wants to be a medicine immortal, leave something behind. Then those things will never be placed in the sword shrine. In this Partridge Mountain, once because of a natural disaster. The only way to get into the mountain is the one left now. Those who climb Partridge Mountain will inevitably pass through here as well. Daofei Road fly this way. Only those who are on the right path can reach this place. You can get here. What did they do? Open the door to enter the tomb. But they entered only with the sword as the door. The mausoleum that symbolizes the martial cave. And after that, the road that was once wide became narrower and narrower. There are also various traps along the way. Look at it from this angle. Is it more like the cultivation process of a martial artist? In the beginning, everyone started from a wide and smooth road. But as the road gets narrower and narrower, those who can't bear it will gradually fall behind. And many forks in the middle. It's like those branches of martial arts intentions. But all the streams can return to their roots, even if they have taken different paths. In the end, all that is sought is the highest place. Therefore, everyone will be on the same road again. And then the long, dark cavern and the medicine man. It's more like the final cliff of the demon before the martial arts mastery. To climb to a high place. It is the last road to immortality. So you get the idea. The mystery of the sword mound is to convey a message. Whether it is ascending to immortality or becoming a Buddha, the final destination is nothing. And all the medicine fairy wanted to say was one sentence. The practice of martial arts itself is meaningless. This sword mound, in fact, it interprets his views on martial arts. Because for him, those martial arts people may be more like his enemies. The more he cherishes human life, the more they hate these people. That's why he turned into a sword-grabbing without a trace. Go and take away those weapons that symbolize martial arts. And the last trap. probably talking about those whose goals have collapsed, unwilling to give up and look at the sky. Also want to look for a target there. But if you understand that everything is false, we'll choose to look down on the ground, because down there are those who only know how to look up to the heights, creatures who dismiss and scoff, and the final way out. And the one who realizes this and looks at the ground will continue to move forward, because whether it's finding the wrong target in the first place, or people who regret embarking on this path, as long as it's alive, they're all going to move forward. However, I didn't understand this. No one would have thought of continuing through the sword shrine. In the mountains, this is a clearing where no grass grows. But those who only come to grab the treasure, in his eyes, it is tantamount to a treasure buried with gold. But in fact, it was just a dead land. First, that's what you're trying to say. Even if you lose the goal, you don't know what you're pursuing in your life. Don't despair because of that. Just know what's under your feet. It's not too late. Not for martial arts. Not for what you once wanted to achieve. Just for life. Harmonious, yet ordinary. Where it grows naturally. It should be here. This is the source of water for this lonely mountain. It's just a small stream of water, though. But it will confluence with other currents to form streams. Flows into the river. Finally rushed into the sea. It has given birth to countless living beings. And this is also the Tao and people. If the medicine immortal really wants to pass on his will to the world, the one who receives the inheritance must first overcome him. As yes, when he grabbed the sword without a trace. The sword mound was born from this. As for the medicine fairy, after getting rid of those worries, I am afraid that what he wants to pass on to the world is his arrogance. Suppose I were a medicine fairy. So, what I've learned all my life, it will be like this current. Carry my will, be the starting point for saving countless lives. Is it really arrogant? One person's will wants to save countless people in the world. But if I'm right, then he must be here. Come to think of this, Qingming's hand had already reached into this small stream hole. With the touch of a rock in his hand, Qingming finally took out something from it. A faintly glowing copper box. In the midst of this, what the hell will it be? Take a deep breath. At the moment of opening, everyone was stunned. Mixed Yuan Dan and that bright mixed Yuan secret record. That's what they're crazy about. Xiaoxian, this stinky boy, really let me find it. For a long time, Qingling suppressed the excitement in her heart. That's when it opened. Carefully looked at the lotus seeds. Who can understand what I mean? And find it here. Then this person will be eligible to receive my true transmission. I will leave to him what I have learned all my life. The refining method and medical skills of the mixed Yuan Dan. It should be used to save the world. I want to take your abilities. You will be able to fully grasp what I mean. See this. Qingming was already convinced that this was the Real inheritance. Just like he looked. I'm afraid my brain is already happy. But don't talk about him. Even the normally calm daytime could not be held back. Keep wiping your saliva. God, it's really a mixed Yuan Dan. Suddenly everyone. There is a delusion. The air is so sweet right now. In this way, Qingming seriously bowed his head and bowed. This is for the medicine fairy. Leave behind a true mausoleum of what you have learned all your life. Come to think of it, even if there is no body of him here. But there is nothing wrong with calling his will the tomb of the medicine immortal. Although his will was not given to a certain martial arts sect. But isn't the medicine fairy also gambling? Bet on his plan to be seamless. Bet that the person who finds this place is exactly what he wants. It's just that this is just his wishful thinking. In today's Qingming view, if he really wants to pass on his thoughts and will, it should be handed over to the disciples to inherit. So even if he is dissatisfied with the air, his mind can go on as well. Wait, is this what the senior brother said about Qi Ji and longing? That dream is a senior brother. That's what you want to tell me. That's why you came to my dream last night. Don't you feel at ease with your dull junior brother? And everyone saw that Qingming was halfway through the words. Sudden silence. Qin called. Only then did he bring his thoughts back. Even if the ability of the inheritor is limited. But as long as it's passed down from generation to generation, there will always be a show. A successor who can completely inherit his thoughts and will. So don't believe his disciples first. He wanted to have a perfect genius, able to fully inherit his abilities and thoughts. It was his methods that did not serve his purpose. And the strong who walks alone will always despise others. A genius like the medicine immortal. Naturally, I feel, no one in this world is outstanding enough. In his opinion, only equipment like him, in order to pass on his abilities. I guess the same was true of me in the past. But you are wrong, Medicine Fairy. I was wrong in the past. I understand what my brother said at that time. If there is no brother and sister to work together, I'm sure I can't figure it out. Come to think of it, Sergeant Qing Ming scratched his head. Inexplicably popped up a sentence that everyone has worked hard. This scared a few people. Is this still the devil's name? Is it a fever? No, I have to find a doctor. At this point, Qing Ming is also smiling. Don't worry, brother. I won't be on my own anymore. As long as Huashan is still there. As long as Huashans will still exist in this world. Then, even in a few hundred years, my will continue to be passed on, because the will of my brothers and sisters will be with me. That's right, and the brothers who went first. As long as there is the name of Huashan as a bond. We have never been separated. That's right. Let's go. Back to Huashan at dusk the next day. The head has already received a letter from Yunnan. After learning about the experience of Qing Ming and his party, I'm even more worried. Fortunately, in the end, there was only a thrill. Jinzhen was angry. This group of children is all the hope of Huashan today, and their safety is much more important than the interests of the sect. If you come back this time, the boss can't reprimand them properly. I'm afraid that in the future, Cloud Sword will be calmer. They went down this time, not only pulled the intelligence network of the beggar gang back to Huashan. It is even more for the Mountain Gate, a glory that was once unimaginable. In every sense of the word, it's still commendable. Hearing this, I also feel very reasonable. They did something very remarkable. Seeing this, Xianshang also understood the senior brother's thoughts. Say no more. But suddenly, the breath outside the mountain gate surged. It seems that they are back. It's weird. The speed of the children is too fast. Looking at the overjoyed Xiansheng, although Yunjian felt that it was a problem to let the head of the sect greet him personally. But the love goes. It's a natural thing. Bring a few people to the mountain gate. That's when they realized something wasn't quite right. These footsteps, it's too fast. Sure enough, a few people didn't wait for the disciples to open the door at all. Just kicked his mountain gate to pieces. The head of the house just came to the door with a few people. Was given to them one by Qing Ming, the head of the next house. What's even more bizarre, Xiaojie and Lu Yixue directly drew their swords and stood close by. This scene made the disciples more and more confused. How dare they even hijack the head of the house? Really from a madman. Turn into a bunch of crazy people who made stupidity. The three people in the courtyard of the head of the house were already dumbfounded. That's what I understand. From Nanyang to Huashan, they didn't dare to let out a breath. They really just looked like thieves along the way. Fortunately, they were not discovered. I didn't let anyone know it was us. Huashan got the mixed yuan dan. Hear this mystery. I have a dry mouth. Open the copper box. It's really a golden masterpiece. The heart-piercing medicine box was instantly opened. At this time, a person suddenly opened the door slowly. During the day, he is suddenly a clever. I just wanted to pull in the extinguishing port. Only then did I find out that it was the master of the finance pavilion. He glanced at the copper box in his palm, glancing at the lime boy again. Only then did he shrug his nose. I mean, you cuties. What a treasure did you bring back? Huashan finally obtained the coveted mixed yuan pill and the method of refining. However, after countless calculations and considerations on the one side. Now, even if they are sold, at most, you can only make up the materials needed for one pill. Now it's all right. Look at the face of the finance pavilion master. He couldn't wait to put this bullshit on the one hand right away. Tore it up in order to train a master. How is it possible to go and smoke it out? The master of financial resources that has been re-established with great difficulty. Hearing this, Qingling couldn't sit still anymore. If you're talking about money, then it's fine, because what we have is money. Just mix it up. New Year's Day matters at the Galactic Business Group. With help, progress is flying fast. But the posture is large. Now, gather the materials. It's just trying to refine. This article is named after the long-lost Zixiaodan, and the young group master also understands. Following the First World War in Central South China, Huashan is now in the sword mound. Rumors have long been in the limelight. In such cases, if there is any more news, presumably other sects will inevitably be jealous of Huashan. So he didn't ask too much about the finance pavilion master. Why let them act in secrecy? Just these materials. A discerning person will know it at a glance. The cost is not a small amount. Since it comes to money, the finance pavilion master grinned at this. Fully prepaid. I guess that's enough. And these are the best night pearls of the same size. Each one is worth a lot of money. What? Maybe you won't need that much to prepare those materials. Hearing this, the financial pavilion master narrowed his eyes. Looks like he didn't play any tricks on us. So, I'm a lot more relieved. As for the young group master, he asked about the commission of the Galaxy Business Group. Then it's all up to your conscience. Hearing this, the young group leader was stunned for a moment. Only then did he secretly curse the old fox. This man is definitely a robber. That's it. After the Galactic Merchant Group left, the finance pavilion master didn't hold back the rising corners of his mouth. It's really a lot of money now. Same scene. The boss is there, the lord of the 5 pavilions. Even Yunnan was playing at the same time. They couldn't be happier at this point. It could be a little calmer during the day. As for White Wounds, he was able to take this time. The changes in Huashan can be seen clearly. Those uncles and elders always laughed inexplicably. Even that kid from Qinglin is very abnormal, caring about whether we will work too hard at every turn. All these years down, he did it all of a sudden. Who is not afraid? So now I was desperate to know where they were going this time. What blood was in the bottom? However, in exchange for the helplessness of the day, life must be saved now. Senior brother's words are chilling. Don't you believe us yet? Our old days. It's just that Bai Yan's words are not finished. I was already a little impatient during the day. So, do you have any grievances? I've said it all. I'll tell you later. Just look at his expression. Bai Shang really thought that his senior brother was possessed by that person. Thereupon, Huashan once again ushered in a peaceful day. Soon, though, a piece of news suddenly shattered the silence here. Master Huang of the Galaxy Business Group. For the sake of this material thing, I personally came to Huashan. As everyone expected, the Galactic Merchant Group should have been for them. Put the required herbs. It's all ready. But Master Huang shook his head regretfully. This time, Huashan's entrustment. They don't have the power to do it. Worse, as he expected, this matter is left to any merchant group. I'm afraid I can't do it. Hearing this, Qinglin is not calm. Isn't that my membership list? The more he talked, the more excited he became. During the day and in the shadow, I was really afraid that he would go crazy. Fortunately, under the inquiry, that's when I learned. Galactic Merchant Group. It's not that the hardest to find U.S. naval weapon is out of reach, and the biggest difficulty among them. It is also a very simple purple grass. Although, it does not have a particularly significant medicinal effect on its own. But here's the problem. This herb is only grown in very special areas. And this also involves 5 forces outside the Central Plains. They are known as Sichuan martial arts. They are the Beihai Ice Palace, the Moro Blood Palace, and the Padala Palace, the South China Sea Sun Palace, and the Southern Barbarian Beast Palace. It is said that each of them is a force. It will not be weaker than any of the 9 factions and gangs now. And that purplewood grass. It grows in the area directly under the jurisdiction of the Southern Barbarian Beast Palace. 100 years ago, the demon cult invaded on a large scale. But at that time, the Central Plains forces decided there is no need to waste combat power outside the plug, and no help was given. Because of this, the Central Plains suffered heavy casualties. Wait until those demon cultists are finally cleared. The Namban was also attacked. He completely cut off contact with the Central Plains. So, the biggest losses were the team merchants who came and went with Yunnan. Now our merchants in the Central Plains want to deal with that side. It's already impossible. So hear this. The boss also understood. It's too much at stake. But the disciple of the single room also said, Lin Dan is the perfect configuration of all materials, plus a unique refining method, in order to achieve the effect of turning decay into magic. If you want to replace it with another material, this is likely to backfire. So, now it's the Namban Beast Palace, and those guys are looking for trouble. He wouldn't even give us a little weed. You. Do you want to die? Hold him down. This time, however, how about the day in Yunjiang? I can't resist the lime madness. In his opinion, this group of people is just itchy skin. If you don't fight, you won't know to give way. So I'm going to smash the heads of those guys. Then bring the comfort back. Isn't that the end of the matter? I wanted to persuade you that day. That's one of the martial arts outside the Seychelles. Stir up trouble in that kind of place. Even if you have 10 heads, it's not enough. But what will happen to Qingming? Why should I worry about my head? It's those guys who should be worried about their heads. At this point, several people had an inexplicable feeling in their hearts. There seems to be some truth in what Qingming said. But Xiaojie still didn't understand. Why can't you hire someone somewhere else? Sourcing for them. Hearing this, Master Huang's eyes narrowed. This little guy. Looks like it's still a piece of business material. But it's a pity. Deal with Yunnan. The people of the western regions have already signed a treaty. Nothing should be sold to the Central Plains. Some businessmen have tried this secretly. But once this kind of thing is discovered, we'll be in danger of dying. So it's not a last resort. They wouldn't do something so risky. Well, it comes down. It seems that they are left to go to Yunnan in person. Purplewood grass, they have to get it. It's about it. Qingling cannot hammer the whole martial arts head of the big thing. Qingling, are you sure? Are you sure you can bring the purplewood grass back unscathed? Hearing this, Qingling patted his chest violently. He was sure he could. Smash those guys' heads. Then bring back all the purplewood grass fields and Huluan. Seeing this, Xuanzang no longer hesitated. Immediately asked Xuanzang to prepare bags for them. Just suddenly, Xuanzang called out to him. God mysteriously pulled the head out. Should it be said or not? He's a real giant. Worried about this group of children. In a hurry. That's when it was proposed to prepare an extra guarantee for the children. Xuanzang thought about it for a long time. I didn't get it either. What else can they prepare for Qingming? That's it. I gave the children that mixed yuan pill. This scared Xuanzang. Can the comfort grass be recovered? Or 2 pairs? Now, the entire Huashan only has these 20 mixed yuan pills left in his hands. But it's a pity. Xuanzang can't resist this junior brother. Only then did a few people gather in the other courtyard again. And in front of them, 5 bright mixed yuan pills. It almost made Yin Zhong doubt his eyes. Even if these mixed yuan pills are found by them. But it involves the prosperity of the entire Huashan. Several people never thought about it. Obtained before Huashan can be refined. Actually, Xian Song also understands. This time the children went to the Palace of the Beasts. It will be safer to take these pills. But according to his predictions, this membership list, it was also intended to be reserved for later when they were seriously injured. A lifesaver. It's just that I saw my junior brother so excited. if the purple wood grass can be recovered. Such an option is not unacceptable. Come to mind, Xian Songkai was a little relieved. And about these pros and cons. During the day, the hearts of several people are also clear. This is the ultimate gratitude for the gift of the teacher. In this way, several people each picked up the pill, and he sat down on the floor in the courtyard. The moment of taking the mixed Yuan Dan. They don't know either. What a benefit to be gained next. But one thing is certain. The burden behind these cases of mixed Yuan Dan. It's not easy at all. Gradually, with the elixir into the body, it can be felt very clearly during the day. He is like a drop of clear water. No booting required. Just fell straight into his own dantian. Just for a moment. It's as if something was created out of nothing. Own internal force. Suddenly, it became unusually large and violent. As if opening your mouth on your own. These invisible forces will gush out. And yet such an impact. No matter how much mental preparation he made beforehand. It all seems a little insignificant. Now he can't do anything about it. I had to do my best. Guide the aura of the predecessor and succession in the body. In this mixed Yuan Dan, there seems to be some kind of magical power. Not only did he make his internal strength skyrocket, even his own meridians were widened. Every second seemed to wash away the filth from his body, and all the senses on the children's body. At the moment, it seems like a new life. Half appreciated, the surging impact of the tide subsided. The four of them understood at the moment. I definitely can't absorb it completely. The medicinal power of this mixed Yuan Dan. But the aura brought by the elixir has been completely locked in their bodies. The rest is to absorb it slowly at a later date. After a long day, he finally exhaled a breath of turbidity. Although physically it is still the same, it smells of filth. But that feeling of strength in my body, he now has a delusion. It's as if he's capable of anything now. It's just when I look up at the head of the house during the day, so that their eyes were already bulging. It seems to have seen a very terrifying scene. Follow the gaze. That's when he understood. Why did Qingming float up out of thin air? And the 5 colors of light that emanate from his body. Could this be the origin of the legendary weapon? No, he's a mixed Yuan Dan. Isn't it different from ours? And as the whole room gradually shook, seems like here, something terrible is about to happen. And at this moment, Bai Shang was pondering in the mountains. In his opinion, the nearest Huashan, there's always a feeling of uneasiness. Since those guys came back from the South Seas a while ago, even the elders looked fluttering. Although I have to admit it, than ever was. It's so much better now. But occasionally, I still miss the quiet Huashan in the past. I miss that pure place of monasticism. Just thinking about it, he found out, in the Nagato Annex courtyard. It seems to emit a very dazzling light. In the blink of an eye, the whole room seemed to be starting to crack. It was an impact from the inside out. But why? So important. Why was it blown to pieces? And during the day, the joy of Fong Kai has long been gone. This is a crazy person. Why can't you even stop the luck? Seeing his dwelling in ruins. Xian Song's heart. It hurts terribly. But when he heard what the finance pavilion master was talking about, it was reconstruction. Xuanzang suddenly felt as if he had collapsed. Not bad. No. Qingling. Half silly, just the center of that explosion. Qingling's figure slowly emerged from the smoke and dust. This will seem, he seems to be getting stronger again. And after Qingling gradually woke up, that's when I exclaimed, Uncle Sure. What the hell is going on, senior brother? Did someone sneak attack Huashan? And Xuanzang saw that Qingling was still like this. They were relieved. It's just the 5-colored light of the square. Could it really be the legendary weapon Asen? About that, Xian Song couldn't be sure. After all, it is said that the person who possessed the weapon of the dynasty was the one. When they exercise, they will have 5 colors of light around their bodies. But it didn't look like Qingming just now. Hardly. After all, this time it was because of the influence of the mixed Yuan Dan. So how strong is he now? This Xian Song can't seem to be considered. From how it feels right now, Qingming is already very, very strong. Even himself, in terms of the volume of internal forces, although it is still far from being as good as himself in the previous life. But the degree of purity in the Qiyun, but it's still not comparable to his previous life. The former Samaden, I really cleaned myself of the filth in my body. But, obviously, this time, it seems that he has completely reborn himself. I thought, except for the passage of time, it is no longer possible to let your own internal force got grown. But if it's this mixed Yuan Dan, come to think of this, Qingming began to play the idea of the bronze man again. It's just the way he looks. Xian Song was really scared. Say what? You can't use up the stock you have. These pills are in the eyes of the master. What the future? An important treasure that could save the lives of these children. So you mean, these elixirs, are you going to keep it just in case? Then the boss. This time, we are shouldering a heavy responsibility in Yunnan. For the prosperity of Huashan. Go to the outside of the Sichuan martial arts to find purple wood grass. It is my duty to do so, but in that remote and dangerous land. What will happen? I don't know. The head of the house, Qingming, went to the soup for Huashan. Never give up, but just in case. Uncle Sure and one of them accidentally injured and dying. At that time, I had exactly one mixed yuan pill in my hand. 3 grains are not right. 5 pills of mixed element pills. Maybe it can save everyone's lives. I only need 5 Qingling. You'll agree, sir. That's it. Xian Song was successfully ransacked by Qingling. Looking at the half-missing pill in the box, his heart was bleeding, and the Qingling at this time. This will already look at the elixir in his hand. Haratsi all flowed out. If it weren't for the reminders of the juniors and disciples. Xian Songjin is to the heart is broken. I'm going to fight with Qingling. It took him a while to calm down. Even if Qingming, no matter how much it moves, he just sighed clearly. Actually, I don't feel comfortable either. Always let you do those dangerous things. But for the sake of Huashan, I couldn't help it. Speaking of this, Qingming comforted Xiansong. That's it. Xiansong's heart felt that this child was really special. Sometimes he thinks he's the kid. And Qingming is more like an elder. Although this feeling will soon dissipate. But the kids, you remember, Sichuan martial arts are known for their eccentricity. Maybe the etiquette of the Central Plains is not easy to use there. So be very careful. You know, don't worry. In case it doesn't make sense, this thing still works. Seeing this, Xian Song suddenly began to doubt whether or not you made the right decision. Until the day, the tone that was like a spring breeze was spoken. This made Xuanzang feel a lot more relieved. I just didn't say a few words. He was broken by Qingming. I really don't know. It's a very decent daytime. When was Qingming infected? But that's it. Xian Song still said that he would travel during the day. You act as my agent. Your painting is my Huashan painting. Your attitude is my Huashan attitude. Don't rush to say no yet. I think if it's you, I will definitely be able to do it. Only then did the group embark on their journey. Jinzhen was worried. He wondered if he needed to be the tour leader. Come with them. What about that? The head of the main language of the finance pavilion seems to have figured it out a long time ago. Experience this kind of thing. After all, you have to take the first step to have it. Although these can bring fear in the heart, but only to carry these things. Only then can young people grow up gradually. And a couple of them old guys. Even if I go with me now, I'm afraid it won't be any different. It may even interfere with the progress of the little ones. This kind of seeing what the kids do. Feelings of distrust. It will not be nourishment for them as they grow up. So we have to believe. The ancestors of Huashan will bless them. In this way, Xuanzang stood outside the mountain gate for a long time, just about to go back. The artist came out of nowhere, out of the blue. You are the head of Huashan. Can you give me a glass of water? I'm here to travel. Agreed with Huashan, Shenlong. In search of a medicine friend, Qingming, and they once again stepped out of the door. However, they had just arrived in Huayin County, ran into the young group master. The 4 carriages that were shining brightly. It completely covered up the self-recommendation of the coachman. It's just to attract the pure spirit. It's just the expensive price of this carriage. As for traveling to Yunnan, in his opinion, Horntown will be much faster than the carriage. But obviously, he was the only one who had this idea. Even Aunt Lou thinks, only this bastard can do it. Spread your legs faster than a horse. It's just a message that can't fill the Beast Palace. The martial arts of the Central Plains are very rare. Even if you pass by Sichuan and ask the beggars, I don't necessarily get any useful information. They've been cut off from the Central Plains for a long time. All that has been handed down is that they are good at adding kung fu. Plus the pre-sale skills are superb. That's why it got the name of the Beast Worker. I don't think it's a problem, no matter what kind of person the other person is. The point is how strong they are. You must know that the demon cult was rampant at the beginning. The main target was the Mount Sect, after the bloody martial arts. Except for the North Sea Ice Palace. Almost all of them were hit hard. And now it's only been 100 years. If there are no accidents, it is difficult for the 4th house to fully recover at this time. However, just to be on the safe side, Qingming still shouted to stop the carriage. Not far away is the town. This sudden move, it really made them a little dazed. It's just that the 4 of them looked at each other. I didn't know he was at this time. What else could happen? Xiaojie, why don't you take the baggage? I'm afraid that if I take the baggage, what if that guy just let the carriage go? The forest was a little speechless. You feel like you're in the car. Won't he let the carriage go? Hear this. Xiaojie was stunned at first. That's when I came to my senses and made a fool. Qingming looked at the day seriously. Teacher, may I ask how much you helped me in the sword mound? One word. Even now, the plum blossoms can bloom during the day. But he also understood. At that time, I'm just a burden to Qingming. He's growing up too fast. Meanwhile, what we have to do is becoming more and more dangerous. Although I was walking with him, but we can't keep up with him. See what they look like. Qingming said about this trip to Yunnan. It may be more dangerous than the sword shrine. Take the uncle and the aunt, and the martial arts of the senior brothers today. I'm afraid that my life is in danger. So I came up with a solution. Since you have eaten the mixed yuan pill, now all you need to do is refine the qi in it thoroughly. Then your internal forces, at least twice as strong as it is today. Of course, under normal circumstances, to fully absorb those charms. It can take years at the earliest, but now I can make you do it in a month. Hearing this day, I was no longer calm. This is true. Have you ever seen me tell a lie? I've seen it many times, although it's ridiculous. But they're not interested in such a message. I still can't hide the joy in my heart. Uncle Sure, have you ever heard of pushing a hole? You mean unclogging by hitting or rubbing? Wait a minute. Everyone suddenly became fierce. That's right. That's what you think. To say that I will do it later without any emotion. That's an absolute lie. I hope you understand everything I did next. But it's all with deep emotions. And so the sun set. Far away in Wudong Mountains residence. Today's Wudong. I am also reflecting on the behavior that was blinded by desire at the beginning. Fortunately, it didn't cause a big fire this time. Is the end of martial arts just a void? But there's one more thing I still can't figure out. You said you got to a tie with a kid from Huashan. Is this true? Hearing this vanity, he said his own girl. At that time, if the fight continued, I'm still confident that I can beat him. But the problem is, it's not clear to me myself how long it will take to do this. Then this victory is meaningless. In other words, I'm on par with him. At this point, the head finally narrowed his eyes. As he said, the gap between the two of them is already small. All it takes is a little bit of luck. It can determine the final outcome or defeat. I didn't expect that. This is a real genius. But we don't have to worry too much about such a guy, although he must be an immortal talent. But there is only so much that can be done in one day. Today's Huashan has fallen to this point. It will be difficult for him to use his fists and feet. In the end, you will only be burdened by it. It's just a waste of myself. However, he has been in contact with the people. He had a different view. That kid has nothing but an amazing talent for martial arts, decisive formal style, and that astonishing judgment. It's all far beyond the reach of people. I even took the position of the head of Wudong in the future, persuaded him for chips. Hearing this master, he was a little more dignified. Sisei should know. As an elder, he has no right to interfere with the position of the head. But he did it anyway. This shows that he is no longer amazed at this child. But even so, on his own, it's just to make his name. Let's get louder. To lead a sect to rise. It's impossible. He doesn't just need to unite people. Meantime, they must also have the same strong convictions. A child. How can I believe he can do this? Such. Appropriately strengthen the vigilance against Huashan. Let's stop here. Even if it was all that the kid understood, but talents are not cultivated by gritting their teeth. In this way, Susan withdrew from the residence of the head of the family, looking at the teacup in his hand. Only then did the boss groan. What if it happens? Maybe think of this. Instead, he was amused by himself. That's ridiculous, isn't it? It's me who is overthinking. Early the next morning, this will be during the day. They've become dead dogs. In a daze. There was a bit of confusion in the film. How could I fall asleep here? By the way, I was still questioning the devil at that time. But he didn't just pretend he hadn't heard. They pounced on me. As a result, I seemed to faint like that. How really doesn't want to get up? Wait for everyone to wake up. It's time to go through those hellish tortures again. It's true. Just as he was thinking about it, there was a sobbing sound on the side. Look up. It turned out to be Xiaojia. Xiaojia, were you injured? However, Xiaojia sobbed and said, Senior brother, my internal strength has grown. That damn internal force. My wounds healed. So, don't you have to continue to suffer the sins of guilt? Hearing this, Zhong was also a little confused. He subconsciously tried his luck and internal strength to self-judge. That's when it wilted. And really why? Why don't you just scrap me? At least that way you won't have to be beaten again. Obviously, I was beaten. The strength in the body is stronger. That's outrageous, isn't it? At this time, I also woke up during the day. But how many beatings he has suffered? He hasn't recovered yet. What are you muttering? For this effect. I've had a lot of hard work. I just made it for you. It's a little different from going to school. It's just a big beating for you. I couldn't help it anymore when I heard this. Let go of me. For the peace of the world. I had to cut him. It was only during the day that he exhaled a breath of turbidity. He didn't understand. Why did they have to be beaten? Seeing this, the elf poked him in the chest. Uncle, every muscle in your body. It's not all because it's torn. Will it become bigger than the original? The wound is swollen. Broken bones become thicker, although it will vary depending on the situation. But in general, my grandfather was like that. Sounds ridiculous. But the combination of injuries and herbs is an inherent cultivation method. Don't we have similar training in Huashan? When you first started using the wooden sword, haven't the palms been torn countless times? But now, even if you dance the sword all day, have you ever had one? You must know that it is naturally not as good as it. But if the internal forces are appropriate, it's the same thing inside your body. Because of the medicinal effect of the mixed yuan pill, it already has a majestic charm. So, cooperate with a certain degree of internal injury. This allows your body to absorb it passively and quickly. As long as the aura is enough, the wound will heal, and it will become even more powerful than before. Do you understand? Hearing these few people in addition to exclamation, I don't seem to know. Say what's good. Qingming didn't expect you to be so brainy. But what they don't know is, These are all the tortures he suffered on the battlefield. Enlightened truth. And in order to take care of their strength. It's very light to do it yourself. I said you don't have to think about it anymore. Just think of it as a competition. Anyway, if you fight with me, you will be beaten. Isn't it much easier to think about it like this? Don't worry, you won't die. I've never heard of anyone dying from cultivation. Didn't you hear that this day was also served? If you get beaten and you can get stronger quickly, then you have to be careful. In case you are given that unpleasant look, leave a scar, but it's going to get even more annoying. At this point, the elves were also a little relieved. That's why I love this guy during the day. No matter what the repression is, this guy will never give up. Uncle Sure is here. Let me see. It's up to you what kind of shower you can turn out. In this way, 5 days have passed for a long time. Looking at the autumn moon, which is already a little cool. The coachman also served. Even the best of health. I was beaten like this for 5 days in a row. It's long overdue. But these people were more energetic than they were on the first day. It doesn't matter if it's beaten or beaten. I don't even know how to sign now. Which side is more remarkable? It's hard to play hard. Special next plate? I've been talking about it for a year. Said so many times. Still haven't changed at all? It seems that you have only developed the ability to pretend. Before I come back. Pranayama. Hurry up and recuperate. When I heard this, I wanted to ask him what he was going to do. A moment to raise your eyes. He was completely calm, and Xiaojie heard Qingming's plan. The young lady couldn't help cursing. Help you fall into the mud. It's just that these days are no longer audible. Stared blankly at the back of Qing Ling's departure. That guy, how could he hear? These people also cast curious glances. Uncle Sure, what's wrong with you? However, during the day he asked about them instead. Anyway, have you ever seen Qingling sweat? There is something inexplicable in these words. That guy is also human. Of course, he was silent as well. Like all of them. I've never seen that guy sweat. Even when it comes to seeing the mound, pure spirits are like monsters. So they really didn't notice anything was wrong. But I saw it clearly. The hair on the back of the boy's head was soaked. One faces the Wudong elders. Monsters that could be evenly matched. Even if we take the mixed Yuan Dan. It is also impossible to compare with it. Now, there is only one explanation. Listen to me, everybody. However, at this time, Qingming has gone far. He was really tired. Use external forces to push the blood. It's really not something that any cat or dog can do. The control of the force can neither really compromise them. At the same time, you have to put your own internal force into them. If you hadn't taken the mixed Yuan pill yourself, even Qingming didn't dare to try it easily. Why am I torturing myself so much? It's a coincidence. At this time, an autumn wind blows. The fallen leaves knock just right. Qingming's face, who is going to take a break. It's as if the senior brother in charge is chattering in his ear again. He understands too. Even if you don't bother to do it now. Daytime. They will be able to absorb these charms completely in the future. But the key lies in this future. Even anyone can climb to the top of the mountain. Those who board early and those who board late. It will also be different. The more time passes, the more obvious the disparity is. Although, it's always harder to be one step ahead. But don't know why. See how these guys get stronger every day. I'll put up with it. I can't help but want to teach them a little more. I want them to get stronger faster. But what I am most pleased with is the willfulness of these guys, compared with the parents of the year. But it's not a little bit stronger. So the head brother, if only I could raise them, then let them teach the other brothers, and so on. The entire Huashan should be able to really become stronger. Come to think of it, Qing Ling never delayed less than a cup of tea, and he will complete his heart. Maybe that day will come a little earlier than I expected. They will no longer be a burden to me. It's a companion that I can entrust to my juniors. Hey, these guys are so comfortable. Do they know it or not? How hard I'm working now. Half an hour later, Qing Ling returned to the camp. On the contrary, I was a little confused. What are you guys doing? Don't you plan to take a break? Unexpectedly, they seem to be in excellent spirits. That green spirit. If you're tired, it's also good to take a break. Let's just have this bit of strength. Let me make a hole in you. It will be much more comfortable to ventilate. See this Qing Ming? Eventually, the green muscles flared up. It seems that you have not been taught enough. Then I'll do what you want. Rush to kill him with one move. Smash his head. However, Qing Ming will have a coke blossom in his heart. These guys are so much to my liking. Senior brother in charge. This kind of Huashan is not bad. In this way, the group saw Chengdu. The grandeur of the troika and the step out of the carriage. The haggard appearance of the four people. It looks particularly eye-catching. But to Sichuan, it seems like we're only halfway there. When will I be able to get to Yunnan? The elves, however, seem to be a little unsatisfied. If only I could do it for 2 more days. It should be about the same. Don't look at me like that. Didn't you make it here alive? But he didn't wait for them to speak. The groom had already come to the side of the men. Originally, he planned to go to the Galactic Merchant Group branch here first. Clean up. And about the intelligence of Yunnan, they had already arranged for someone to collect it. But let's be honest. With the ability of the Galactic Merchant Group, it's really hard to find a way into Yunnan. Therefore, today's Galaxy Merchant Group Intelligence Network. It is true that you can't reach the place in Yunnan, but if there is anything else needed, they can squeak it any time. After saying goodbye to each other like this, during the day I plan to let everyone go and investigate first. You must know that Sichuan is the territory of the Tang family. There is also a Qingqing faction not far away. Even the disciples of the Amei faction. Occasionally, you will come and go here. So it's important to be careful with what we say and do. You know, uncle. Don't worry, the brothers are very obedient. In this way, several people acted separately. There are those who go to the beggars. There are also those who are looking for business travel. Only Qing Ming wandered around after a long absence. Until lunchtime, they're tired and out of shape. It was clear that nothing was asked this morning. The beggars said, Yunnan is already barren. Beggars can't live, not to mention gathering intelligence. As for the business travelers, it doesn't seem like he's willing to tell them the truth either. After all, this matter is not profitable for them. And this plum blossom pattern on our body, it will make it difficult for them to be unwary of us. You must know that the business travelers here are trying to survive. I have to look at the face of the Tang family. And so it goes. How could they be grandiose? Welcome some outsiders from other sects. Xiaojie said. Only then did the film remember. This kid seems to be from Sichuan. And Xiaojie was born in a merchant family. If they go directly to Xiaojie's house to inquire, isn't it so troublesome? I said, senior brother. Although everyone is a child abandoned by the family, you don't have to take care of our mood either. And choose not to go back. I just thought it was funny to hear this during the day. I left the family on my own, and Xiaojie seems to have a lot of concerns. After a long time, I agreed to take everyone back. In this way, they soon came to Chengdu. The merchant group looked at the plaque he had fallen. Qingming only then understood. It turned out that the senior brother's family hoped that he could revitalize the family. I chose to send you, the second son, to Huashan. It's just that Xiaojie's footsteps didn't stop because of this. Not there. It's something over here. This is where the emperor lives. God, brother. It turns out that you were the child of a rich family. This gate is bigger than the mountain gate of Huashan. After confirming that this is Xiaojie's house, Qingming was looking at him. They all seem to exude nobility. That's not right. Senior brother Xiaojie. Your face. At first glance, it came out of the middle of nowhere. How could it be the precious young master of a rich family? Even Yin Zhong, who was most familiar with him. I was amazed. I remember you telling me before. Your family is just a small business group. I've always believed in it. Obviously, Yin Zhong also felt it. It's strange that Xiaojie is the child of a rich family. And Qingming's mind moved. Instead, He gave what seemed to be a more plausible explanation. Not to say, is there often that kind of son who is treated coldly? Because I can't stand the abuse at home and leave or something. Very quickly, the noise of several people attracted the attention of the merchant group. Walked out of here. It is an old man who is over the age of 6. What kind of place are you guys going to be in the Four Seas Chamber of Commerce? It's noisy here. However, he was not finished. That's when I suddenly found out. The second son actually came back. It's really the second son. God, how did you become so magnificent? Seeing this, Qingming was also very curious, leading the senior brother. Do you have any background to hide from everyone? For example, you are actually a dignitary in a prominent family or something. But it's clear. Most of the people in Huashan are still mainly orphans. After a frightening briefing, soon 2 people hurried out. It seems that this is Xiaojia's parents, yes. High life is so unfair. Why is it that some people are born again and become stinky beggars? Looking at the table full of delicacies from the mountains and seas, Qingming was finally convinced. Xiaojia's family is really rich. I didn't know that life in Huashan was so hard. How did you persevere? Hi, what's here? Enter the mountain gate. Everyone is the same disciple. Is there anything important about family background? But it's clear. These words stabbed these 3 orphans hard, in the heart of a teenager who ran away from home. Seeing this, I had to be embarrassed to break the siege during the day. It's just that we misunderstood him. Xiaojie should also have his own difficulties. However, what ushered in was the unanimous appearance of the 3. Look at how these rich kids favor each other. Let's stay away from them. It turned out that Xiaojie had an agreement with his family. I should have come back last year to help take care of the property. But at that time, I met Qingming. He didn't want to come back like that. So my father thought. This time, I left Huashan completely and went home. Now I have to explain it to him first. But Qingming didn't understand. Such a noble status of yours. Why do you have to be with us? As for what the identity is, senior brother Yin Zhong. Just think about it. The size of their home. It will not be inferior to the Galactic Merchant Group. That's it. Senior brother Zhao Jie. At least he can talk to Huang Zongyi, the leader of the Xiaotuan, on an equal footing. In an instant, the atmosphere on the table seemed to change. Seeing this, Xiaojie had no choice but to sigh. He planned to go to his family first, inquire about the way to Yunnan, and because of this, he successfully received a reproach from his father. 5 years without returning. As soon as I came back, I just asked, "News Yunnan? You also know what the place is. From the day you promised me. It's been 1 year. Come back now, since it's not for the sake of going home." Do you know what you're talking about? You know, going home and inheriting the family business is something you have to do. Family ancestral training. This must be true for all the people of the clan. Don't tell me what you promised the boss. Isn't that your promise to me? Originally, I thought, send you to a down-and-out sect like Huashan. You can endure hardship and thrive. But are you going to return to Nao Mountain now? The Four Seas Chamber of Commerce is your home. You should do your best. Isn't it our Zhao family? Hearing this, Xiao Jie was silent. However, what is unexpected is this. He was still pleading with his father. Find a way to get to Yunnan. For him, it's a man, and what Huashan disciples must do. So please father and 1 child this time. See here. The man rose like a deflated ball, lamentingly. I know you've made up your mind, but I don't have a good way to enter Yunnan. This matter is not father. I saw that there was pu'er tea from Yunnan for sale in Chengdu, and our family trading house is also selling it. It's impossible to say you don't have a source. Even Namban is also working on the guard. You still have a way. Guarantee the supply of tea in these quantities in the city. That's right, so. Whether it's a private transaction or something else. There must be business exchanges between Yunnan and Chengdu, right? And we just need to walk with it. Even being a porter is no problem. Speaking of which, the man had not yet spoken. There was already opposition behind him. insist on hiding your identity and infiltrate Yunnan. It's definitely going to do dangerous things there. You tell me, what parents in the world will find a way to put the child to death? I saw that it was in the shadow of Anyang. Didn't continue to sit either. He gently held his mother's hand. Explains the merchant group business. It's a dangerous thing. If you can't even do that, how can you become a good businessman in the future? So Anyang, I have to go. The woman was heard turning her face sideways. The tone finally softened. You don't plan to be a businessman. And you, man, seeing that his son is really stubborn. Zhong sighed. Wait until I've seen those. The Huashan disciples who want to go to Yunnan with you. Decide again. I'm going to see if they're worthy of my trust. This is my biggest concession. How to hear this? Xiaojia also had a headache. Father, you examine this matter. Doesn't it count as someone's success? That's it during the day. Zhong took a few people with him. I visited the home of the Four Seas Chamber of Commerce. As soon as I met the man, I was impressed by the temperament of the day. A table of talents. The etiquette is thorough. He couldn't help but sigh with an extraordinary bearing. Unexpectedly, Huashan has gathered so many young talents now. But then again, he is the one who hears this. Hurry to explain during the day that you don't have to care. That kid has always been like that. The man no longer detours. He serves as the father of Xiaojia. It's a real headache to be troubled by him. And you must know that. How dangerous it is there. Now I'm so hospitable. I also want to see it first. The one who wants to take my children to that kind of dangerous place. Is it worth trusting? Just for a moment. During the day, he already understood the situation of the head of the family and Xiaojia. It is true that there are no parents would be willing to let the child go to such a dangerous place. There was silence for a long time. Only then did he raise his eyes during the day. Solemnly said, please rest assured. We won't take Xiaojia to Yunnan. Caramon, it is the insurmountable and blasphemous heaven of the people of Sichuan. And the Tang family has flesh and bone serum. Take control of the entire Tang gate. It is tantamount to the center of power. Here, all the powerful. The heirs of the family will all be sent to the Tang sect to study martial arts. It's just what these kids can learn. Only a little fur. And the real stunt can only be the Tang family's bloodline cultivation. The purpose of doing so, it is to cut off all the children of the family. Development in martial arts. Lost the power to become a warrior. And imperceptibly, let these children rely on the Tang family at the same time. Generate a sense of belonging to the Tang family. However, Zhao Jie refused. They broke that control. And the head of the Zhao family also chose to support him. In order not to make the Tang family angry, he had no choice but to send his children to Huashan. But what he didn't expect was, today's Huashan is like a hidden dragon in the abyss. The rise is so fast that the entire Central Plains is eye-catching. But for the Four Seas Chamber of Commerce, the most dangerous is Huashan. There are 5 disciples. That is the generation of demons. Among them, in addition to Huashan Shenlong, the second-generation disciple Lu Yixue during the day. 3 generations of disciples Yin Zhong and Zhao Jie. He also gained fame in the First World War in the South Seas. They are well aware. This third-generation disciple Zhao Jie. It is from his Four Seas Chamber of Commerce in Chengdu. It's just that the head of the Zhao family at this time is still lucky. He couldn't believe it. My own children have come to that height. So much so that during the day, when he persuaded Xiaojia to stay in the Chamber of Commerce, nor did he use these as references. Uncle, sure, I'll let you sit down. I know you've made a promise to the boss. But if the head knows about it, do you think he will force you to go to Yunnan? Teachers are important, but it's also the same with the door. Is it against the orders of the parents? Do what they don't want to do. Is this your way? It's obvious. Xiaojia didn't know how to answer this. But Qingming doesn't think so. Uncle sure wants to enter Yunnan more conveniently. You just left Zhao Jie hard. Senior brother, it's not like that, right? If it has to be. I do. Rather bothersome. even if it is a contradiction between the family and the teacher. Take our position. Should not make decisions for senior brother Zhao Jie. Even if it's an uncle, you shouldn't force him either. Isn't it so? Senior brother said it. How do you want to do it? It's obvious. Xiao Jie is still worried about how everyone will get to Yunnan. Just as seen, Ling's Qingming has come to the end. It's really less to worry about those hearts. Think about it. Who am I? Even if it doesn't help, I also had the heads of those Beast Palace men smashed. So, just do what you want. Hear this. Xiao Jie breathed a sigh of relief. It's weird. Now see this kid. I feel a lot more relieved. Just when he was about to say what he thought, outside the house, there was a hurried shouting. The head of the house. The people of the Tang family of the Tang sect broke into the Four Seas Chamber of Commerce at night. In this way, the head of the Zhao family came to the front yard. I recognized the person at a glance. Tang Zhan, the fifth son of the Tang family in Sichuan. Such a character would suddenly visit in the middle of the night. He knew that nothing good would happen today. I thought to myself, but there was still a greeting on his face. Your guests are coming. There's a long way to go. It's just that Tang Zhan doesn't seem to have any intention of going around the bend. He came here for one purpose. It is Zhao Jie, the second son of the Zhao family who returned to Chengdu today. In his early years, Xiao Jie left Sichuan to worship Huashan. It was the most taboo thing for his Tang family. Come back this time, if you can't take this opportunity to suppress it. In the future, the forces here vied to follow suit. That's worth it. So I just wanted to see it this time. Zhao Gongzi gave up the opportunity to enter my Tang sect to practice martial arts. Instead of worshipping Huashan, what skills did you learn to come back? And I've heard that the world's first rising star, Huashan Shenlong, also came here. How can I not come and admire his demeanor? Hear this. The masters of the Zhao family are numb. I want to make a living here. There is no force that can disobey the words of the Tang family. But the few people who came here, it is the elders who convene the division. He is also a guest of my Four Seas Chamber of Commerce. I must not push them in front of the Tang family. And I know it all too well. How terrible and vicious these people of the Tang family are. So, I can't even think of that. He had no choice but to excuse himself by saying, I understand what you mean. But it's too late today. The guests all slept. However, he was not finished. Was interrupted by Tang Zhan's sharp voice. Did you go to bed so early? It seems that the disciples of the mountains are very slack. Seeing what else the leader of the Zhao Tuan wanted to say, a coldness had already crept up in Tang Zhan's eyes. The head of the Zhao family, please pay attention. This is my Tang family's business. Hear this. Xiao Jie's father wilted at this time, but his intentions made him really unable to back down. There was silence for a long time. Tang Zhan seemed to sense something. That's why he said with a smile that he was persecuting Yunnan like this. That's not what I intended. I hope you don't blame. But it seems Huashan's disciples were really intimidated. They all heard me, but he still chose to hide behind the Four Seas Chamber of Commerce. Hearing this, the head of the Zhao family found out. Suddenly, there was a strange noise behind the door. The next second, the whole gate was like being bombarded by a cannon. Fly away. Until now, he had a delusion. There seems to be something wrong with the quality of the door. That's 3 feet of solid wood. Is it really a teenager who can kick it off? However, Tang Zhan also seemed to be a little confused. Your Excellency is you and who you are. Broke in the middle of the night to stir up trouble. Do you want to die? These little kids haven't had any manners lately. Also, Your Excellency is to ask someone else's name before it. Shouldn't you give your name first? Yin Zhong was also convinced. Qingming is playing drunk and crazy here. He was really worried about losing face in Huashan. A strong apology. I'm afraid that people will chew the root of his Huashan faction's ears behind his back. It's just that when Tang Zhan heard the word Qingling, this is just a sudden occurrence. Is he the Huashan divine dragon? Feng Kai is being rude. I am the Tang family of Sichuan. Tang chop is just a clear spirit. It doesn't matter what kind of goods you are. No, the Tang family I know. It's a bunch of educated people. It's funny. Could it be that the Tang family I know is dead? Now there are other Tang clans. A new dawn was established. However, he was not finished. Yin Zhong was really anxious. Energetic. Only then did a slap interrupt Qingming's stinky mouth. It's also helpless during the day. It's rude. In the day of Shaoan Mountain, I heard that it was the flower sword that defeated the needle and thread. Tang Zhan breathed a sigh of relief. I finally have someone who can communicate normally. Your Excellency must have heard it all. The son of the Zhao family. But my Tang family has a deep origin. Take the liberty to visit today. Just wanted to see it. Zhao Gongzi learned something in Huashan. So please bring Zhao Gongzi out. Hearing this, I can see it clearly. Although their Tang family is not a royal family, is like an emperor. It seems that in Chengdu, the Tang family in Sichuan is indeed a long-lived master. If I refuse, I'm afraid that the Four Seas Chamber of Commerce will also be affected. Just as he was thinking about it, Xiao Jie's voice came from behind him. Uncle Shi, let me go. Their purpose. I think I'm clear. Yubai also seemed to have figured out something during the day. Silently walked towards Tang Zhan. I want to hear it. How do you plan to check out my nephew's martial arts? If it's a direct fight, I want to make the results public. Let the whole of Chengdu know. That's right, this is a matter for the Tang family in Sichuan. Don't let anyone interfere. Hearing this, I finally burst out laughing. It's up to you. Now that you have the guts to stand up. Ask to see the martial arts of the 3 generations of disciples of Huashan. Then we also have to be courteous. It's the right thing to do. Come on, let me see how good you are first. You must know that this is also my Huashan business. No interference is tolerated. It is clear that a few words during the day both indicate the position. He also cleared up his relationship with the Four Seas Chamber of Commerce. Even the cleanup that was dragged by Lu Yixue and the Shadow. It will feel like this kid is out of the day. We're really getting more and more presentable. And only Don showed that he was feeling a headache. The Huashan faction was intended to be for a disciple. Is it bad to be with the Tang family? Your Excellency, we Huashan protect our disciples. No need to think too much. Although this assumption is unlikely. But if today, because of these, led to the tragic destruction of the division, there will never be any disciple who will resent me. This is Huashan. Do you understand hearing this? Yin Zhong and Lu Yixue said for the first time. That's the case. They will still resent Uncle Shi. But why did Uncle Shi make a move? From the beginning, Uncle Shi has been at the beginning. But isn't this senior brother Xiao Jie's business? I know that Uncle Shi is very ambitious in this regard. But you've been dashing enough. Now it's time to leave the opportunity to senior brother Xiao Jie. After all, it's rare to go home and see your parents once. Didn't you hear Qing Ling say that? I was still a little worried during the day. You must know that the Tang family's martial arts are too dangerous. The slightest mistake can cost you your life. And Xiao Jie has so little actual combat experience. To the people of the Tang family, it's too dangerous. However, Qing Ling seemed to see through the day's thoughts. Asked rhetorically, senior brother Xiao Jie was in the eyes of Uncle Shi. Is it so weak? Don't worry him. Definitely not going to lose. At least not to lose to those people. At this point, I was a little surprised during the day. Qingming actually had such trust in Xiao Jie. Maybe it's because I care. However, the next sentence of Qingming immediately became, after all. I've been training him so hard. Senior brother, right? It's just that all of them understand it. If this guy is willing to stand up, it will definitely be easy to solve. But there will come a time. None of us can continue to hide behind him. And I don't want to be a burden to him. Although I know that I can't match him now. But at least I want to help him a little bit. Walk with him. At least you have to be aware of that, right? Win or lose. I'm afraid that's not the crux of the matter. This matter is my grudge with the Tang family. It's up to me to figure it out. Come to think of this, Xiao Jie's eyes had already climbed into a sense of perseverance. Uncle, sure, I understand what you mean, but let me do it. Don't worry, I'm a disciple of Huashan. Looking at Xiao Jie like this, during the day, he also unconsciously hooked the corners of his mouth. Shoot this junior who is not much different from his age. Let's go on the shoulder. I believe you.